All right, welcome to another edition of the Big Blue Report featuring that guy, two-time Super Bowl champion, former Giants defensive captain, Giants legend, the man himself, Jonathan Casillas, the professor, Ryan Darlington. My name is Randy Zelli from Back Sports Page, and special guest from the Giants Insider. Man, we were just saying before how I'm going to end up butchering his last name. So we're going to go with Chris Biz. Chris, just pronounce the last name because I'm going to.
Just say business. Everybody does. Don't worry about
it. And real quick, this is a listener-supported podcast, supported by you, the listener. Go visit us at all of our social media and podcast platforms, and also go to NFLshop.com. Get the gear that the Giants wear at NFLshop.com. Keep this show free. Get the gear the Giants wear at NFLshop.com. All right, boys. So we're not used to doing this, but hey, we won this week.
Yeah.
So, we won. We won.
The big win. We won the toilet bowl.
Yeah. So I think for me, before we start breaking down the game, the biggest shock, and I knew this was the point where Ryan started breaking glass in his house, is when Deonte Banks, for all these positive things that Deonte Banks said, we've said on this show, Ryan Darlington, ladies and gentlemen, was probably breaking things. Ryan, we'll start with you on that. Go ahead, buddy.
You know, I'm actually the one thing. It's always a double-edged sword, right? And the one thing is, yes, you know, we've had our frustrations with Tay Banks this year, but it finally looks like we've found a place for him to be productive, right? We've actually found something that he can do that he's good at, and that does give me some degree of hope. I don't know if it's enough. But, you know, at the end of the day, the kid has struggled so mightily over the last couple of years. It is good to see that he's got something that was like a notch on his belt. You know what I mean? That made me feel good a little bit. I didn't break too many glass things around the house.
You know what I saw, Randy? And you know, I'm sitting there like the Giants can't even lose correctly, like they can't even figure it out, right? But it was good to see. First of all, it was good to see Banks because he's been the point of criticism for a lot, rightfully so. He hasn't played up to it since his rookie year. First round draft pick, a guy that, man, it's like every time he's in the game, you know, he doesn't make the play that comes to him, and he makes penalties. He makes bad plays, you know, consistently, and to see him score that touchdown and to see his teammates' reaction to him, that was very heartwarming to see. You know, it's very difficult for a bad team to do well late in the year. And, bro, they played their best game of the year. You know, the defense was flying around. You saw a 2 takeaway game from, Bobby Okereke. He had one of those things, and 2 years ago, he was a guy that was a ball hawk. Dane Belton has a lot of great ball skills. We just haven't seen it, and he's having a phenomenal year. He came away with an interception. But I love the energy that I saw for this team. The big question is, which I'm sure every single Giants fan is asking, where has this been all year? Where has it been in the last 3 months? And we've just been seeing bad football. And yes, it was the lowly Raiders that been resting their starters to I don't know, I guess get the number 1 pick in the draft. I don't know. But the Giants finally said, we're better than this team, and we're going to show you that we're better than this team. You know, and they played that way. Jackson Dart, I think he played lights out besides the slipping on that turf field, which a lot of people were slipping. But we got to see his full arsenal, his skill set. You know, they didn't handcuff him, which I feel like they did against the Vikings. He was at his best. He was moving out the pocket. He was decisive. They called design runs. He was physical, and he slid, and I think he protected himself in that game. And the thing that I really loved was the post-game interview. Paul Dottino gave him a nice little layup, and he was like, you know, you're doing a good job in protecting yourself. And Dart got so excited when he asked him that. He was like, I did, right? I was doing a good job. But what he said after was something along the lines of, yeah, you know, you got to learn. And that's what I've been wanting to hear from him in regards to that situation. As long as he's embracing that part of it, the learning factor, you're not too good to learn how to protect yourself in the NFL because as a quarterback, you have these protections that are afforded to you, and if you're not utilizing it, then you're not playing good quarterback play, no matter what you're doing offensively. So now that he's learning that, for me, I love this kid because that was the one thing that I was like, if he doesn't try to, change his mindset, he's going to be out of the league within a couple of years, within a couple of months, right? So I think with him at least being willing to learn, I think that's all we needed to see because yes, he has to learn, but the things that he's already doing on a football field, he's a very accurate passer. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He only has 5 interceptions on a year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And how many are his fault, Jason?
Exactly. A lot of drop passes this year, right?
Balls.
And over 20 touchdowns. This is Daniel Jones's best year. That this kid is doing. This is Daniel Jones's best year. And the reason why I'm saying that because Daniel Jones got paid a good amount of money because of that year that he took the Giants to the playoffs. And he wasn't a prolific passer. This kid is a better passer than Daniel Jones was, when he played for the Giants. And he's a better runner than he is too. I think the sky's the limit for this kid. And if we could just get the right pieces around him, head coach being number one, got a good, defensive coordinator, maybe the whole coaching staff. I don't know the changes that's going to happen, but somebody in here that can work with him and be a leader of men. This is a nice, talented group of guys that I think if you put the right people to guide them in leadership in front of them, you'll get the most out of them. You'll get the most out of Dexter. You'll see Abdul Carter making more plays as he's been on a tear since he got the second benching. So I'm excited. It was a bittersweet type of situation for me because now that I'm on this side of it and I started to understand, Chris, why fans are like, you should tank, they should tank. And I never understood it until this year, really last year. But this is the first year I was like, I understand the argument now. I get it now for the first time in my life. Being a player, you just don't understand it. But now being on this side of it, I get it. So it was a little bittersweet. But I feel good because I'm all about the players, Chris. I want to see the players have success in this league, whether it's with the Giants or not. And when you're just a losing, man, it's hard on you. People say, oh, why that game that Jackson Dart needed to win? He need to win. Yes, they need to win. You need to feed their egos. They need to, walk away from the facility happy for once. When you get back at 6 a.m. from Vegas and you got to drive to your house, you actually happy when you wake up on the plane, So I'm sorry to go on that long soliloquy, but it's just a long time coming since the Giants have played like that and reaped the benefits of it.
Holy shit. I finally found somebody who gets it. Oh my God. Thank you, Jay. JC, I haven't seen you all year. The only time I saw you this year is when you were telling me how you were trying out for the Nets and you were going to be starting point guard. Okay. You know what I'm talking about, JC.
That was hilarious, yo.
Listen, finally somebody who gets it, man. I mean, look, let's break down what John just said because first off, John, I remember every one of his snaps with the Saints, and he was a smart freaking player. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I curse? I can't curse.
Yeah,
you can do anything you want on this show.
See a lot of this one, baby.
Like John just said, you hear the ridiculousness around this team, and I hate to say it, some of my media colleagues and people that cover this sport that they really don't know the sport of football, but they cover football. Okay, and you hear them saying stuff like, well, the Giants could be looking at Mendoza. Dart regressed. All right. Ridiculous, right? Jackson Dart, oh my God, he's hitting that rookie thing. He's regressing. Ridiculous. Okay. JC comes out and says, he just has to be smarter and not taking these hits because in this league, you're not going to last long. All right. 100%. I've been saying that for weeks. Is he getting smarter, everybody? Sure he is. You see it. He's starting to get smarter, Jackson. He's figuring it out. This isn't the SEC. You're not going to run people over. Okay? In this league, you're not going to last long. And I see people. I even saw somebody on a fan today. Tiki.
You got a little thing in your throat there. Yeah.
Actually say that it's not a big deal. He's getting blasted because he's a football player. And I'm saying to myself, God, Tiki, you want him getting blasted on the sideline of a Patriot game where he can get out of bounds? You want Ellis to blow him up on the sideline? because he's a tough kid? Well, he's got to be smart. He's not going to last. You know, the bottom line is this, fellas. Jackson had one concussion, he missed a couple of games, and he's been in a 10-4 time. So we don't want to see that, right? He's figuring it out.
Yeah.
He's figuring it out, but that doesn't mean you lower your shoulder and you run to Derwin James either and say, I'm going to be more of a man than you. Watch this. Okay? And the stuff that's going around, I finally found somebody here, Jonathan Casillas, who actually knows what the F he's talking about. Like, because I listened to this nonsense, and I'm like, Jackson Dart is a franchise quarterback, fellas. I don't know if you're with me or not, Randy, Ryan.
100%.
First time I'm meeting you, JC. I think you're with me on this. You look at this kid, and I watch this kid you watch his 22 tape.
Yeah.
You break down every one of his snaps. JC, tell me if you're with me on this. I see a kid who figures out defenses. Okay. Everybody tried to hit me and hit everybody with, oh my God, he was confused against the Vikings. They had him befuddled. Well, that's not what me, Bob Pop, and Carl Banks saw. Okay? We saw a kid that was getting no receiver help at all when they showed 7-man pressure fronts. No receiver help at all. The game plan was horrific.
Yeah, it
The
wasn't a good
coaching
game
staff,
plan.
the coaching staff did him an injustice.
Mhm.
Okay, they coached. I don't care what they say. They coached like, oh, Brian Flores is on the other side. We're gonna establish the run, and we're not gonna put Jackson in situations like this. So forget about that. But I hate it when people said, oh, Jackson really was schooled this game by Flores. He didn't know what he was doing out there. Well, let me ask you this, fellas. JC, you're with me on this, I'm sure. When a guy is confused, a quarterback's confused, did you see Jackson throw any near interceptions where you said, "Oh, he didn't understand. He didn't see what he was looking at the back end"? Did he throw any near? And the only one he threw was when Van Ginkel was reaching up, okay, and it looked like to me Theo was running through the zone instead of hitting the window and stop. It looked like Jackson thought he was going to stop in that window, and he kept running the vertical. Okay, you see the week before Sam Darnold, he threw 2 picks.
Yeah.
2 picks against the Rams.
Yeah.
Twice they ran a zone blitz on. Both times Sam had no idea they ran a zone blitz. This is a veteran. Did you guys see that with Jackson Dart? Did he throw like 2 or 3 near picks where everybody was like, oh, wait, Jackson didn't know what he was looking at there? I didn't. Maybe you guys did. I didn't.
No.
So to get to Jonathan's point, you got to love this kid, man. You got to love this kid. I love everything he brings to the table. The kid can be accurate. The kid uses his legs. Another thing against the Vikings, they were afraid to make him run. Okay, they didn't have structured runs for him, but he had 3 zone read opportunities that the Vikings played it so well in the edges. They were so well coached by Flores. They are. Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner, they held the edges. They didn't collapse, so he had a hand off. But he had 3 running opportunities if it was there. Against the Raiders, it was there. He took off on zone reads a couple of times, right?
Sure.
Big difference. Big difference. So you look at Jackson, you say, hey, it hasn't been perfect. He's a rookie. Of course it hasn't been perfect.
Right.
But I tell you what, JC, Randy, Ryan, I look at a kid every week, and I study him on the 22, and I see a kid that knows what defenses are doing. He puts in the work. Well, JC, what does that mean, right? He puts in the work, brother. He puts in the work. He knows what he's seeing. I think he's well ahead where he should be. And let me ask you this, too, right? If he's coming out of the draft this year, he's a number 1 quarterback by far. Not even close.
No question.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you another thing, because last year the Giants lose to the Colts. Everybody panics, right? We're not going to get Cam Ward. Oh, my God. Oh. Well, who would you guys take right now?
Yeah, 100%.
Would you take Cam Ward or would you take Jackson Dart?
Yeah.
So for all the scrutiny Joe Shane has received, and a lot of it I get, I'm not going to sit here and say Joe's been perfect. I get. But Joe did come out of this draft with Abdul Carter, and who in my opinion is starting to figure it out. Abdul's starting to figure it out. The lights, JC, you know this better than anybody. A lot of times with rookies, the lights start going on, right?
Yeah.
Later on in the year, through the first year and all that. Look, Abdul's got some stuff going on. We all know that, okay? Hopefully he's getting it straightened out, the lights going on. And then he winds up drafting, moving up and getting Jackson Dart, who, in my opinion, would anybody here swap Cam Ward for Jackson Dart right now?
No way.
Not at all.
JC?
No, not at all. No.
So you have to like where they're at right there. I don't want to go on too much of a rant, but I like what JC said because I finally found somebody that's kind of figured it out. Because if you listen to the media and you listen to the narrative the last few weeks, you think A, Jackson Dart is finished, right? B, B, they're looking. Maybe they'll trade him and they'll draft Mendoza if they would have wound up with the number 1 pick. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think that the thing that I like the most about it is that the changes that we're seeing in him are coming from him, right? They're not. It doesn't seem like he's handcuffed by the coaches. It doesn't seem like the game plan is going away from things that they don't want him to do, right?
Well,
I mean,
the Vikings, though.
the Viking game
it
yeah.
was.
Well, and I guess that's
Viking
my
game
point, right?
was,
You can
yeah.
see that it doesn't work when the coaches try to hold him
Right.
back.
Right,
But you
that
can
part.
see that it does work when he is able to play his game.
his
And
game.
now that he's starting to recognize how he can protect himself, how he can be more effective, he can play his own game, which he needs to do. And the coaches don't have to worry about saying, okay, well, we'll keep him away from this, we'll keep him away from that. The light's going on. He's starting to get it. He's getting better at reading those defenses. We're going to see more of those run RPOs, plays. And I think if he can continue to be smart about not taking those big hits, guys, we're looking at some great stuff for a long time.
And Ryan, JC, and Randy, he's been getting much better at that.
Yeah.
He's been
Yeah.
look. Let's
He
not
has
forget
been.
one thing.
Yeah, he
The
has been.
concussion play, he fumbled. He
Yeah.
fumbled. He was reaching for the ball, and boom, his head hit the turf. It wasn't like he lowered his shoulder, and took and he took a linebacker on. A bad linebacker and said, watch this, I'm going to run you over, and he got concussed. No, he fumbled, going for the ball. Boom, his head hit the turf, and then we all know what happened. So he's been sliding. He's been getting – look, Jackson's got what, okay? He's got to understand.
For sure.
The kid's got balls, right? We know that. The kid is tough. The kid's a gamer. And he was getting better before that concussion. Then he goes out with that. And you see him slide the other day. And I think hopefully, guys, he understands when he's on the sideline, get out of bounds, dude, because you don't want a guy like a linebacker Ellis blowing you up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully he figures that out.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing with Dart too is, and if you look at the way the Giants had set up this season, I think the morning of the first day of the draft, there was no plan that Jackson Dart was going to be a part of this team. So that's why Wilson and Winston were originally brought in. And once they found the opportunity to get Dart, obviously they took it. Now you have a great problem where you had 3 quarterbacks and 4 when you had Tommy here too. So they were much better positioned this year than they were over the last couple of years when Daniel was here, especially the year after they made the playoffs. I think that was 2023 when he ended up going down with injury, where we were, Chris, they asked you if you wanted to play quarterback at that season. So, I mean, like it was a terrible situation. And now you have a great situation where you have Russell Wilson, who, no matter what happened at that point in time, you're like, okay, we're in decent shape. You have Winston, who, JC said last year when they were talking about bringing Jameis Winston in, is like, you will love watching Jameis Winston play.
Yeah, for sure. And we did. We
Yeah,
did.
we
We got
did.
a
Yeah,
lot
we
of
did.
taste of Jameis this year.
We did. We did, man.
Yeah.
That boy could still zip it, man. Wow.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But let me kind of finish with Jackson Dart. And I'm sure we want to move on. This is what I've seen from him, especially last week, right? Yes, the Raiders, whatever they did, right? But they're still an NFL team. And the players, they're trying to win. Like, that's no question. I would never question a player unless they show me otherwise. NBA, right? What the hell they're doing over there in the NBA. But I would never question the player. Is he trying to let somebody score or not make a play or something like that? They're out there trying to make plays, no matter what the organization was trying to do. The Raiders were out there trying to make plays. When Jackson Dart got in the empty, he was able to find his targets right away. That means he knows what he's looking at, Chris.
Thank you.
That's what you're
JC.
saying. When the ball is snapped and he's getting that ball out right away, that means he knows exactly what he's seeing in front of him, and he's making a decisive decision. For me, I'm so glad that they allowed him to play his football. The game that we've seen from him that, got him to, I think, 9 rushing touchdowns on the year, which is a record for the New York Giants, and he hasn't started all the games. So that says a lot on how he plays the game of football. But it allowed the Giants offense, for me, to be as multidimensional as it could be, because he adds an extra dimension when you have the ball as a runner, as a quarterback. Because if you truly think about it, right, Whenever the quarterback hands the ball off to the running back, right? That's basically 10 on 11. It's 10 on 11 because the quarterback is totally out to play. As the quarterback handles the ball, it's 11 on 11. Mano y mano. This is advantage to the offense because it's always 10 versus 11 when it comes to run plays, right? That's why you have a period in practice called 9 on 7, right? It's basically advantage to the defense because there's always an unblocked player, right? But these running backs are so good nowadays. Now, when you add the quarterback dimension as a linebacker, it makes things so complicated, especially when they do a zone action, which somebody has to account for the dive. Somebody has to account for the quarterback. RPO, somebody has to account for the pass. It makes, as a linebacker, as a defender, it makes our jobs that much more difficult to defend. So the Giants, when they play the dart football, it's better for the Giants. Not just because he can do it, it's because it provides an advantage for the offense.
Sure.
That's why they do design runs for the quarterback. That's why when Cam Newton played in the league and it was 3rd and 5, there was high chance of quarterback run, quarterback power. And there's almost nothing you could do about it because everybody has a hat for a hat, and your 260-pound quarterback is not going to be one-on-one with anybody. Somebody's going to have to get off a block to make that tackle. So for me, I love the choice that the Giants made in going to say, we're going to do this how we're supposed to have been doing this. Play it the way that favors our young star quarterback and let him shine, and that's what we saw.
It's aggressive football. Guys, it's aggressive football, right? We've seen so many games where it's been passive defense, vanilla game plan from the offense. This is aggressive Giants football on both sides of the ball, and you saw the benefits of it on Sunday. Sorry, Chris, I cut you off.
No, Ryan, you go ahead, man. I was just saying, I think Tim Kelly and Mike Kafka really realize how much they effed up with that game plan against the Vikings. I really do.
No, for real. I think you're right.
I really do. I think they learned the lesson. Although they're not going to be here, they're here one more game. That's it. But I think they learned the lesson. I think from what I understand, I got some feedback coming out of that building saying there was a lot of people in that building saying, "What the F kind of game plan was that?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So anyway, hey, JC, I got to ask you this because this is what I like. I like what they're doing with Jackson too, JC. And you tell me as a linebacker which one you like more. But they got him on the center a lot. Okay, they can put him under the center a lot. And you see the NFL. You watch these other games. You see the NFL starting to trend a little bit. Their quarterbacks are starting to get under center a little bit more now. JC, talk about the challenge of that, where you get that play action back in it, man. You got the quarterback on the center. You got that play action, man. What's more challenging for you, JC, with a guy that's in that shotgun the whole game, or a guy that's on the center a lot, and then you got the play action comes into it?
It's challenging when they could do both, Chris. Right. When you can have a quarterback that can have success in the shotgun and also play on the center, because it gives you a different look every single time, right? A play action from under center with the hard action play fake.
Right.
As a linebacker, I have to honor that. First of all, these linemen be cheating. They be getting upfield on these plays. And they're 2 yards up the field, and that's a run play. That's a run play. And then they pull the ball out. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get back.
Offensive linemen cheat, JC?
What? Yeah, they do. They cheat. They're dirty dogs, all those offensive linemen in the NFL. They hold every play, too.
They hold all the time, man.
Every play, Chris. Every play. But the ability to get in the shotgun and run it flawlessly, and the ability to get under center and run that flawlessly, it just adds extra dimension to your offense, which me as a linebacker, that adds another thinking process to my already full onslaught of preparing for an offense, whether it's under center or, in the shotgun position. So Jackson Dart, he's never took a under center snap in college. Right. He was doing everything from shotgun. flawlessly he's doing this transition. This is not an easy transition. You know, you go from standing all the way back here.
Doing this.
Hey,
Yeah.
Chris, not
Right.
saying a word, right?
Just doing this.
Just clapping and putting his hands up to you getting under center, taking the snap and play action, turning your back to the
You're back.
defense.
That's the key.
And if
Yeah.
you've never done that before, think about that.
Yep.
If you've been looking at the defense your whole entire life,
Yep.
and now because they say you have to play fake the ball, because that's what makes big plays happen in the NFL, and you turn your back, that is something that you have to learn. And he's doing it in his rookie year, guys.
Yeah.
This kid,
He's
I'm
smart. This
telling
kid
you
is
right
smart,
now,
man.
this
He's a
kid is
smart kid, man.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
And he's such an underrated passer of the football.
Yeah.
I think just like Jaden Daniels last year. I think Jaden Daniels, what he did last year, I think people was talking about his ability to create, but he was like completing like 80% of his passes last year in the first like
Mhm.
3 or 4 games of the year.
Mhm.
Underrated passers that are thought of as mobile, creative type of quarterbacks, but when you can sit in the pocket and destroy your defense, and then that means if they lock everybody up and you can get outside, I'm telling you right now, this dude has that X factor when it comes to a great defense. Like, think about the great defense in the league. Let's just talk about one team, the Houston Texans, which we can all agree that they're a top tier defense. When you add that dynamic, a guy that can get outside, a guy that can create, but then a guy that can sit in the pocket and get the ball out of his hands in under 2.5 seconds, that slows your whole pass rush demons down that you got going on. And look, I'm so happy that the Giants went out and got him. And if the Giants move forward with Joe Shane, I'm okay with that. You know why? Because you can say that he drafted the guy that is the Giants quarterback for how long? 15 years, 17 years. How long could this kid careers be? Knock on wood, right? If he can protect himself, right? The way he plays the game of football is 2025 going into 2026. He plays the way that you need a quarterback to play in this day and age in the NFL. And he's learning the flaws that he has. He's learning and he's overcoming them already in his rookie year. He's already showing that he has the smarts enough and putting his ego to the side to say, okay, I'm going to learn from the mistakes that everybody says that I've been doing and committing.
Right.
And for me, I was so happy when I heard that. I was like, that's what I needed to hear. That's the only thing that I had on him. And that's what I needed to hear. Oh,
You know,
yeah,
it was-
it's a learning curve for me. You know, I love that.
JC, you know what was so impressive even the other day against Vegas, right? He's a rookie.
Yeah.
And he was just taking the checkdowns when they gave it to him. He was taking the check down. They were playing that soft zone, right, JC? They were playing that cover. They were playing that cover 2 shell a lot and all that stuff. And Jackson took the checkdowns when it was there. He didn't try to force anything. He was just taking the check. I put it on X throwing again. So look at Jackson taking the checkdowns when he has to take the checkdowns. I mean, the patience. You know, let's not forget, this isn't an 8-year veteran here. Okay,
Right.
this is a guy playing in his 9th game, whatever it is, and he's taking what the defense was giving him. I look for things like that, and I say, man, this kid just gets it, right, JC? I'm like, you look at him and say, man, this kid just gets it, man. You know, so just little things like that, and you say to yourself, man, this is our guy. You know, this is our guy. This kid gets it. You know, so Giant fans should be happy about that. Like you said, if Joe stays, and I'm kind of getting that feeling that Joe is going to be staying, you know, you got to add the more pieces. Now you got to add the pieces around them, you know. So that's
Chris,
he's looking forward. Yeah.
Who would you like? Let's say the Giants stay at their number 2. Let's say they stayed at the number 2 pick. What would you like the Giants to do for that number 2 pick? Would you like them to stay there? Would you like them to trade back? My thing is, I think the Giants, I don't know college football, like I don't watch it at all, but I would love the Giants to get a corner. A corner that is a fantastic corner piece for this team for a decade.
Well, unfortunately, JC, there isn't like a Denzel Ward guy coming out or Dallas or Stingley like a Stingley kid coming out
Yeah.
that you say, okay, he's good number 2 overall. So what I would like for them to do, John, to answer your question, like if the kid Moore comes out from Oregon, okay, who I like a lot, he hasn't declared yet, but if that quarterback comes out and a team like the Jets or whoever, doesn't say the Raiders take Mendoza, argument's sake, and now the Jets want more, or the Browns or somebody else, or even Miami or somebody wants to move up. I tell you what, JC, to go back, I would drop back 6, 7, 8, 5, whatever it might be, add a few more picks, high picks, and build like that because the Giants are in a position for what? They don't need a quarterback. So you could drop back and collect some of those draft picks. That's why I hope they do stay at number 2, and I got to be honest with you, because I think Deontay Moore is going to come out. You'll see him this week in Oregon, plays on New Year's Day. I like him a lot. I think by the time it's all said and done, come next March in April, I could see Moore being ahead of Mendoza. Okay, you know how this stuff fluctuates, JC.
Yeah, for sure.
Now in the draft,
Senior Bowl has to happen, right?
Senior Bowl, you got a different perspective. Pro days is so big now. Pro days is so big now.
Yeah,
and everybody, look, the whole nation's gonna be watching him this week. In his playoff game, and and all that stuff. So, I like to see the Giants. There isn't a kid, JC, where in this draft where you say, hey, you know what? The Raiders are going to take Mendoza, and we're going to take Mr. X here because this kid is phenomenal. You know what I mean? So I would like to see him trade back, collect a few more draft picks, and build like that.
Hey, guys, I have to throw this out there, especially with Joe Schoen. We talked about it, I think, last week or the week before. But Joe Schoen's draft the last 2 years have been solid. 2022, couple of hits, couple misses. Obviously, we had the Evan Neal discussion ad nauseum. But there's been some hits and misses there, between Bellinger, Wan'Dale Robinson. 2023 was a disaster draft for him. Joe Schoen's got a good draft record so far, in my eyes, for this Giants team. Chris,
well, Randy, he's missed on number 1 picks.
Yeah. I mean, missed on Neal, missed on Banks.
Look, let's face it. Thibodeau, is he a 5th overall talent?
No.
No.
Not at this point. No.
Evan Neal, I think it's fair to label him and I hate to do this because I always love to give guys time, but I think it's safe to label him what? A bust.
A bust. Yeah. He is a bust. He is a bust.
Deontay Tay Banks, they move up for. He's a kickoff returner now.
Yeah.
Right.
Jalen Hyatt, they move up for. The kid doesn't know how to run a route.
Man.
Randy, he's literally responsible for 2 interceptions this year.
Yeah.
One with Jameis, he's supposed to run a corner route, and he just runs a flat straight. And Jameis looked over like, what the F are you doing? And of course, Jameis took the bullet for him, oh, no, it's communication. Then you got the Jackson pick a couple of weeks ago where he's supposed to run a dig, and he's just flattening out the dig, and he's not, and Jackson throws a pick. Mike Sanders still reads it all the way. Jumps, in front of Jalen, where Jalen's got to run he's supposed to run a dig there, and he kind of flattens it out. So, and then of course, after the game, Jackson takes the bullet for him. It was a communication thing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you look at it. You know what though, Randy? You can't miss those number 1s either, buddy. And that's what builds the foundation.
Right.
That's what builds the foundation, and and he's had high number 1 picks.
Yeah.
And they haven't panned out. So now, in fairness to Joe, and I'm always fair, Malik Nabers is a hit. Mm-hmm. And what's the most important thing a GM could do? Draft a franchise quarterback. And right now, he's going to be attached to the hit with Jackson Dart. See, Dave Gettleman, when he drafted Daniel Jones, he could have drafted all the Zay McKinneys he wanted, but he's going to be known as the guy who drafted the franchise quarterback, and that didn't work out, right? So now you look at Joe and say, well, he did draft Jackson Dart, so he'll be attached to the hip with Jackson. So,
Yeah, and he just didn't draft him. He went down to get him. He went up to get him. So, that's the most important. He didn't take him.
He went up and got him. Sure.
Yeah. He went up and got him. And the other thing too, which I found really interesting, and again, it showed this weekend, a great trade, which was featured on Hard Knocks, was that Brian Burns deal. Man, Brian Burns, we can't praise him enough on this show. He is the team MVP this year.
I mean, bro, the year he's having, if you take Miles Garrett out on some real stuff, he could be one of the defensive MVPs of the year. Like
Yeah.
he, and the thing is, Chris, I've seen him playing off the ball, and whenever I see him, my eyes go right to him. I'm like, why is he off the ball? And then I watch him move in space, and I'm like, okay, I understand why, because he moves as good as anyone on the field at any position he's in, whether he's lined up in his natural against the left tackle, right tackle position, whether he's interior rushing against a guard or something like that, or whether he's off the ball in space against wide receivers.
Mm.
He is, for me, he's by far the playing. I don't think he's the best player. I still give that to Dex. But this year,
This
by
year he is.
far the best year out of any
Oh.
Giants player, the most consistent player we've seen this year,
Yeah.
every single year. And we've seen him kind of slow down with sacks, but then he had a 2-sack outing the other night just to let us know I'm still here, guys. I'm still playing good football for you guys. And
It-
the Giants, I'm telling you right now, guys, if the Giants land the right coach, they will do well in the draft this year. They will sign a really key free agent signing like they have done the last
Mhm.
couple of years. Remember, Brian Burns didn't play for the Giants 3 years ago, right? That was Joe Shane that went out and got him. You want to say that was probably the best move of 2024 offseason, bringing in a Brian Burns. And we didn't get to see his full capacity last year because he was hurt every game. But he's the tough guy that
And
plays
he was
through
hurt.
injuries. He
Oh, was
plays
he
through
hurt
all
last
the
year?
injuries, and we didn't see his top tier performance like we seen this year. He's doing things, bro. I'm telling you right now, bro. I've been around. I played for the Giants. I played for the Patriots. I played for the Buccaneers. I played for Gerald McCoy was at the Buccaneers when he was young, explosive interior line.
Good player, man. Wow.
You know, Will Smith, Charles Grant when I was with the Saints. I'm telling you right now, Burns is one of the best players I've ever seen play that position. Not just because he can line up against a tackle and beat them and with anything that he throws at them, but when he comes off the ball, he's one of the best off the ball linebackers in the league. I don't even know how that's even possible to do something like that. So you got to tip your hat to Joe Shane. I'm never gonna forgive him for allowing Saquon to go to the Eagles. I'm never gonna forgive him for that. But that's for me. That is my only big knock on Joe. You can tally all the drafts and say this draft, that draft, but it's for me. That was the blemish. But if you look at all of the positive things that he's done, I think it outweighs that in terms of him being here. You know, I think when you, and mind you, he's a young GM. This is a first-time GM. Just like a first-time player, just like a first-time coach, there's going to be mistakes. I'm going to call a Saquon Barkley a big mistake, probably historically one of the biggest mistakes that's ever made by a general manager. But I'm gonna put that on him being young and dumb. Just like we give these young players the pass for being young and dumb, I'm gonna give him that type of pass. I think if he stays with this organization, I think he will draft well. I think he will bring in a key free agent that'll be another Brian Burns, whether it's offensively or defensively. And I don't like the narrative that it's not an attractive job because Joe Shane is here.
Oh, that's stupid. Yeah.
I don't like that narrative, you know,
That's
because at the end
idiotic.
of the day, we do allow people to make mistakes, you know, in life in general. Like I said, the only thing I'm really holding over him was the Saquon thing, but I'm gonna chalk it up to him being a young GM and not truly understanding the market for a player that's not a true position player. When I say that, when you think of Saquon, you say, oh, he plays running back. But we all know he's not a fucking typical running back in the NFL. He's beyond that. And I think Joe Shane is learning that you have certain players that kind of fit outside the criteria of the position that they play. Jackson Dart might actually be one of those type of guys.
Mm.
And every team has one of those type of guys. You look at Bowers and the Raiders. I was so concerned going into last week's game because of what Bowers presents as the offensive threat that he is. He's bigger than a tight end. There are guys on every team. There's one or two, three or four guys on every single team that when you look at them, they don't fit the typical mold at their position. And
Yeah,
Saquon was one of them. That's why for me, it was so hard for me to say I want Joe Shane back. But when I take a step back and get out of my emotions, I'm like, he has done a pretty good job when you look at the overall body of work and you look at this roster. This is an underachieving roster.
Yeah.
This is not a roster that is as terrible as their record is.
No.
Everyone says that the Giants are better than a 3-win team.
Yeah. The problem is not evaluation. Gentlemen, the problem is not evaluation. It's development, right? We've got a good process in place to have a good evaluation of players. None of the guys that he drafted on any of the drafts, even the 2022 one, those guys weren't reaches. We didn't see after the game when there were analysts saying, "Oh, I don't know."
No, they weren't reaches. No, you're right.
That's
They
an
weren't
early
reaches.
spot. That's an early draft for that kid, right? The first thing that we did with Evan Neal is we drafted the kid, then we put him out of position. We put him on the right, and when all of his experience is on the left, right? I mean, I feel like there are so many things that the coaching staff did to hinder the development of these guys that you actually see regression in players. Jalen Hyatt is a Biletnikoff winner. He knows how to run a route, right? He's just not held to a standard and demanded that that's what has to happen every time, right? It's the accountability element that we've been talking about that has been missing for years, and it's screwed up a lot of players.
Ryan, that's a good point in a way, Ryan. It is.
Great
because
point.
I tell you what, it's a very good point, Ryan, in a way. Because when this head coach comes in, his new head coach in, this guy has to come in the building and he has to set the culture. Accountability.
Yeah.
Listen, fellas, this is the way it's going to be. Okay? We can't have guys missing meetings, not missing the team, missing rookie bosses.
Walkthroughs, yeah.
Walkthroughs. You can't be late here. You can't be thinking you're not at college anymore. Fellas, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
Accountability. And unfortunately for Brian Dable, it lacked a lot with Brian.
Sure.
It lacked a lot with Brian with the accountability part. I don't know where it went from Brian's first year, but from the second year on with Dable, that accountability kind of went out the window a little bit with him. Okay, I don't understand why. Because the first year he really wasn't like that. Second, third year, it was like he wanted to be friends and be, dude.
Yeah.
And JC knows what I'm talking about. He's on the inside. Like, it's a lot of things that Brian should have straightened out very early that he didn't. And you know how it goes. So the new coach that comes in here, the first thing he has to say, hey, fellas, this is going to be the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay? Right, JC? This is the way it's going to be. And everybody's going to be on board with this. And if you're not, you're going to face repercussions or whatever it might be. But that's something that's going to be very important with the new coach. You know what I mean? So, yeah, let's do the trivia. Randy, I got to run.
Let's do.
You got
Let's do
something
some-
for me, a trivia thing before I get
All right, let's go. Here is.
Hey, it's not a trivia thing. It's the fucking trivia, Chris. Okay?
Be trivia.
Don't
Okay.
fucking say the trivia
What do you
thing
got?
and shit.
What do you got?
Here we go.
My God, JC just straightened my ass out. Go ahead.
Why is Chris suddenly unavailable to come on this show anymore?
Yeah.
I don't know. What happened?
Actually, you know what? Actually, it's been a lot. I love the football talk. I love JC.
Yeah.
I always love JC. I love the football talks. Okay.
You already know, Chris. I miss
What's
seeing you during the game, bro.
Where are you? I mean, it's me, Madeline, and Paul. Where the hell
I
you been
know.
all year?
I'm working.
I know.
They fired me from the radio, so
Well, you can't have an
seeing this.
opinion. You know that. You can't have an opinion.
They didn't fire him. They relocated him.
They relocated me. Yeah.
Wait till I see Nile Sunday.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
come pull up on you though, because I want to go say hi to the
Stop by
staff.
Sunday. Me, Madeline, and Paul.
But the cafeteria people over there, I love, the ladies over there at the cafeteria. I haven't seen them basically since 2024. So I want to go by and say hi to everybody. I'll come check you out.
Okay, what do we got,
This
Randy?
week's- Boom! There's this question.
Which Giants head coach has the most wins against the Cowboys?
Hmm.
That's a good one. That's a good
All
one.
righty. Here's your choices.
Choices: Coughlin, Parcells, McAdoo, or Fossil.
Well, I know what you're thinking.
That's
Ryan.
crazy. You put Ben McAdoo up there.
There's one that you can get out.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
So
we
we're
swept
saying-
Dallas.
You know what?
We swept
Fossil used
Dallas
to
in
own them.
2016. We swept them in 2016.
I think Fossil owned them. I think Fossil a lot of wins. I'm going to say a wild stab at this. I know everybody's going to think Parcells is. I'm going to say Fossil.
I'm
I was
going
actually
going
to go Coughlin. Yeah,
I'm
that's
going
what I was
Coughlin.
gonna do.
I'm going Coughlin. A.
The correct answer is Bill Parcells.
Parcells.
How we all got it wrong.
Everybody wins
You know
on
what,
it this week.
JC? It was so obvious. I thought it wasn't.
Yeah.
Right. I thought so
Much
too. I
of a
was like,
layup.
maybe Bill Parcells, but I feel like Coughlin's long career here for the Giants might have did it. Dang. What's the numbers on that? You got the numbers in front of you,
Ryan, can you be a favor? Ryan, producer, can you get those numbers up for me, please?
JC.
Yeah.
Throw it.
You see me?
Fellas,
I dodged away from it. Hey, Chris, much love, dog. Thanks
guys,
for coming on, brother.
check
JC,
out-
Randy,
check out-
Ryan, nice meeting you, Ryan, Randy. Thank you,
Check
JC.
out the
Hopefully I'll
Giants
see you Sunday.
Insider.
I'll come check you out, bro. All right.
Good seeing you, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right, brother. Same here.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.
Thanks, Chris. Guys, don't forget to check out the Giants Insider. Chris has a great podcast, and of course, he's always writing great content. And guys, if you guys would like, I have a bonus question. If you guys want a bonus question, today.
Yeah, let's
Well,
do it. Me and Ryan,
We
one on
probably
one.
should
Let's
have bet
go.
on the other one. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that was bad.
Boom.
Which Giants running back rushed for over 160 yards against the Cowboys in a 2011 regular season home win?
Here's your choices.
I think I know who this is. Yeah. I'm going Big Brandon. A.
Yeah, I'm going. You put Saquon Barkley up there, bro. I'm thinking about when I was in the league, and I'm like, Saquon didn't come since I was way out the league by then.
You know what? You just have to put some stuff in there just to see if you're paying attention, like McAdoo and
Yeah. It's between Jacobs and Bradshaw, and I think I'm with you, bro. I think I'm gonna go with Brandon Jacobs as well.
The correct answer is Brandon Jacobs.
Yeah,
Yes,
Brandon Jacobs. Yeah.
You know, it was funny. I love. There it is, Bill Parcells.
Wow.
that's a
That's
hell of a
a good record. Yeah.
Look, it's funny too. You know, we were talking with Chris about Dart and the makeup of this team and having the most important piece of the puzzle already in place. And for the longest time, even Eli's finals years, you start wondering what after Eli's gone, if the right piece is there. And Daniel, like Ryan Stern, the producer of this show, I remember watched Daniel Jones in his first game against Tampa, and he was already planning a Super Bowl parade outside the stadium because everyone was looking at Daniel when he first
He
got here.
played a phenomenal game.
Yeah, he played
Randy. Yeah, that
And-
game was a
but-
good game.
And everyone kept on saying to me, okay, now they're going to have tape on him.
Yeah.
Now they're going to have tape on him. And the simple fact of the matter is, guys, Jackson Dart is the first real piece of, okay, we solidified a major piece here. Now, and then you also have a big piece on defense with Brian Burns.
Yeah.
You have to see what's going to happen with Dexter Lawrence during this offseason. You have to really see what's going to have to happen there. Obviously, the Darius Slayton stuff we were joking around before we came on the air with, whether that's a piece that you want to keep on. Ryan, you also have the number on what his cap hit would be, because I know Ryan, you asked about that. Ryan,
Yeah. It looks like the dead cap hit this year would be $15.75 million. It goes down to $3 million after next season. So I think we're in a position where we kind of have to keep Slayton on, right? I mean, that's a huge hit, and Joe Shane hates dead cap. He hates dead cap on the books. So I mean, look, if you're talking about Darius Slayton being your fourth wide receiver, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. He's had some drops issues this year.
You think?
And he hasn't been his old self, but nobody was their old self. We've been talking about this. We talked about it just now. The regression that we've seen in the team because it was really hard to get anybody to perform up to their level. And we started to see that. Granted, again, it was against Las Vegas, right? But we started to see that this past Sunday. Complimentary football. And look, guys, they deserve that trip home. JC, you were talking about the flight home, right? They have been on the losing end of things 9 games straight. They've won 2 games to this point in the season, right? To that point in the season. They deserve that trip home, right? That was a good flight home. And I'm happy that they got it.
And guys, too, I also think, I know we keep on saying it's the Raiders, it's the Raiders, it's the Raiders. This team, after watching them again this weekend and throughout the season too, this team is too talented to be a 3-win team.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, maybe they're not a 12-win team, right? But
No.
They're not a 3-win team.
No,
you
I said at the beginning of the season, and look, the way this team was built at the beginning of the year, before we even had the Winston, Russell, Dart, controversy, I don't even want to call it controversy, competition.
Conversation.
Yeah, you looked at that record and you knew it was murder's row. And that's why I wasn't questioning the talent on this team. I was questioning the schedule and the way the makeup was, because it takes the first 4 weeks of the season to see what you really, really have.
Right.
The way they moved around training camp now, and the way it takes guys to get the game shape while they're playing in games. So by the time the first 4 or 5 weeks come, you sort of have a better idea of what you have. By the time we got that, you're already 1-4. What after the first 5 games, you're already playing behind. So it was just one of those things where this team needed to find out who they were, what the identity was, anything of that sort. They just wasn't able to find it. And now you're looking at, because remember, we kept on saying the defense was going to be the strength of this team, and that was the Achilles heel of this team.
Yeah.
Right. Nah, for real.
So look, at the end of the day, you have pieces. Some pieces lived up to the expectation, some didn't. I'll be honest with you. Chris said it best. I'm letting Kayvon play out. Like, Kayvon has to now earn a contract. This was supposed to be the year he earned the contract and going into the 5th year, negotiating his contract for after the 5th year. Now he has to earn it after the 5th year.
Can you see this? This was Kayvon's post. Can
Wolverine.
you see that?
No, it's all blurry.
Oh, it's all blurry. Let me.
What's the? I saw that it was Wolverine looking at a book in the bed. What was the picture?
Yeah, it was the Giants. He was looking at the Giants. He posted that yesterday during the game or after the game or something. But look, Kayvon, I think, he may not be a top 10 pick potential. That's what he is. But he's a solid player for the Giants.
Yeah.
The Giants have, I think, a lot of pieces in place to actually play some good football moving forward if you can get the most out of your players. And I feel like the thing we've seen this year, and I think it was evident because of the firing of Daboll, is that they couldn't get the best out of their players. And you think Shane Bowen got fired? I think for that reason as well.
Sure. Rightfully so.
Did y'all hear? I don't know, Randy, you probably did. I don't know if you did, Ryan. Did you hear the post-game interviews when they ask about Charlie Bullen to the players and
Not
how
the
they
players.
talk
I heard
about
what
him?
Kafka said, but I didn't hear the players.
The players like, oh yeah, man, he gets us so fired up, he gets us so motivated. And I remember the conversation I had with Bobby Okereke last year, going to New Orleans for the Super Bowl. I talked to him after the plane ride, and he talked about how Shane Bowen is not like Wink Martindale in terms of the motivator, right? If you think of that, and they didn't have a guy defensively that can motivate the group, and then you get Charlie Bullen in there, and they're playing better football than we've seen in the last 2 years defensively.
Yeah.
And that's what I was at the facility today, right? First person I saw when I walked in was Mike Kafka. I had a 10-minute conversation with him in the hallway, just talking. I know Kafka since college, Northwestern, Wisconsin guys. So I got to speak to him today, and I told him I was so happy about what he did with Abdul. He got the kid playing the football that we thought that he should have been playing.
Yep.
He did that. That was him. That was Kafka. No matter what you think about Kafka, should he be the head coach for the Giants? Should he not be the head coach? Is he doing a good job? Is he not doing a good job? It's objectively stating he did that. He got the most out of the number 3 pick in the draft this year. Dayball could not do that.
Yeah. It's true.
It didn't seem like Dable was interested in doing that. And I think that was part of the problem, right? Dable was interested in one guy on this team, right? He was, he was putting.
What makes you think that? What makes you think that?
One dude on the team, right? And there's 52 other guys on that squad.
What makes you think that?
Yeah, right.
Because we're flying into the tents after him?
And listen, we can. Jackson Dart benefited from that, right? He didn't come along this fast on his own, right? I think we do owe, to some degree, a debt of service to Brian Dable, right? Because he did, just in terms of Jackson Dart alone, he did bring that kid into the league and show him what it meant to play in the league. And he was having success when Dable was fired, right? And now that Kafka is starting to get it, you can't put chains on this kid. You can't hold this kid back. You can't tell him that he can't do this, can't do that, don't do this, don't do that. This is how we're going to let you play your game. Dable knew that, right? Kafka has just figured that out. And so I think we are going to see more of that. Well, we get one more week of it. But we're going to see more of that, I think, against Dallas. And that's going to be a very interesting game against Dallas. So, we'll see about that.
Great segue. Let's do our picks for this week. Before we do, JC, let me ask, and Ryan, let me ask you a question. If you are able to retain Mike Kafka on staff somehow at this point, do you?
I would. I mean, I'm biased. I love Kafka. I know him. I think, like I said, I think I'm a little biased. I would retain him on staff because I do feel like Dart will play well with Kafka. For me, I think Dayball was more of a quarterback whisperer. When I say that, he took to Jackson Dart. He was a Jackson Dart guy, and you need a guy to help. I'll use this terminology to help hold Jackson Dart's hand for the next few years.
Sure. Bring him into the league, yes.
Help hold his hand, give him do's and don'ts, and make sure that somebody's with him, like an aide. You know what I'm saying, for a kid. And then I would like they asked today on BBKL. I did BBKL this morning. And somebody asked, would you like an offensive-minded coach or a defensive-minded coach? And no question, I will go defensive-minded coach.
Yeah.
For me, because you got so many pieces defensively, and if you can get them bought into what you're selling them and get them back to playing that football that we've seen last week and we've seen throughout times, right? You got to think, Denver is the number 1 team in the NFL. Denver is. The Giants beat the shit out of them for 3.5 quarters.
Yep.
They did.
Yeah.
That's a fucking fact, guys.
Yeah.
They beat the fuck out of them. They were blowing them out, and it wasn't even close. The Giants has that potential to do that.
Yeah.
All right, Raiders, Jets, all of the bad teams that the Giants are fighting for the number 1 draft pick with, they never had a team on the ropes like that.
Right.
They never dominated anyone this year, let alone a number 1 team in the league. So my thing is, if you can get a coach in the building that can get the most out of the players, the Giants will be okay. I'm telling you right now, they have so much talent. When I look around at the Giants roster, defensively, right? You got 2 players that are arguably the best at their position. You have a young quarterback who in 5 years would be competing with all of the top tier quarterbacks.
Yep.
I don't want to never compare nobody to the top tier quarterbacks because they're top tier for a reason, not because of
Sure.
1 year, 2 year, 3 year, because they've done it for a prolonged period of time. He is that good to do something like that. And we all know we saw what Neighbors did his rookie year. We saw what Scatterbo did this year. We saw what Andrew Thomas has been doing when he's healthy. Like the Giants have like blue chip players. When you go into a game, right? They go blue. They rate players, right?
Yep.
As a defender, we're gonna know who the top receiver is if they have a blue chip type receiver. We're gonna know a blue chip tight end. We're gonna know a blue chip left tackle. We're gonna know a blue chip quarterback. These are when we first sit down in a meeting, we're gonna go over all of our goals, and then we're gonna go over the blue chip players. The Giants have like 4 of them.
Yeah.
A lot of teams don't have 4 players that are blue chip players. I'm telling you right now, the Giants have blue chip players, which will win games for you when you can maximize their potential, when you can get the most out of them. And the Giants just haven't done it yet.
Yep.
We haven't seen a coach that can hold guys accountable and get their A games every single week, because that's what it takes in the NFL. Think about San Francisco. They lost so many players this year as the season progressed. They got healthier. They are one of the best teams in the league, and nobody's speaking about them. But they've built a culture there under Mike Shanahan, and they've got this young quarterback who's just making all of these fucking plays. No Brandon Ayuk, no Debo Samuel. They're the best team in the NFC. You know why, though? Because they got a coach that can deal with some adversity, deal with some bullshit, and the culture that's been established has showed its face like it's done every single year. Adversity hits every program. And if you have the culture built in, that's locked in, that's all throughout the team, all throughout the organization, you will be able to be steadfast and withstand these things. Sometimes it might be a little too late. You look at what Cincinnati's doing. Cincinnati just had a great win. It's too late for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
The 49ers, bro, nobody was talking about them in the beginning of the season. Everybody was talking about Detroit. Everybody was talking about the Eagles. Everybody was talking about the Vikings. Everybody was talking about the Buccaneers. They were talking about all of these teams. But when you look at it, the team that has been established in the NFL, no question asked, over the last 5 to 10 years, who's a mainstay in the NFC? The 49ers are up there.
Yeah.
That's the importance of having a great head coach coaching your team to get the most out of your players. 49ers roster is not as good as it used to be. That's a fact. No Brandon Ayuk, no Debo Samuel, no Fred Warner. They're missing their best players. But when you have that culture established, guys buy in, and it doesn't falter with adversity, that's something real. That's something that's tangible. And you see the 49ers, watch the 49ers go ahead and fuck some shit up in the playoffs this year. I'm telling you, man.
I was just about to say, and I'm sorry, just to cut that off. Man, Mac Jones looked like a star quarterback this year when he was playing in for Brock Purdy, and he just earned himself a contract because he's going to get a deal.
14 for 14 against the Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you look at him, he's going to get himself a job this year.
Yeah.
JC, though, you said it right. I mean, Randy, getting back to your question about whether or not we want to keep Kafka in the building, right? If it's a possibility, does he stay? And the most important factor from what we can see, right? And I'm perfectly willing to admit that the only thing that we as fans can judge a coach by is the product on the field, and that's about a third of what a coach is really meant to do, is what needs to happen in order for a coach to establish a culture. Every box has to be checked. Every I has to be dotted. Every T has to be crossed. You have to trust your coordinators. You have to trust your position coaches. You have to listen to everybody. There's so much that goes on. Even I can't remember who was it that said this, but even the most connected insider knows about 65% of the information that goes on in any given organization, right? So, it seems like if there is evidence that players are starting to buy in, if there's evidence that you see a culture being established under Mike Kafka, that's a reason for him to stay. The record is not in his favor, right? The Vikings game is not in his favor, right? They fucked up the game plan for that game, and everybody knows it. But he learned from that, and he did some good stuff against the Raiders. I think what happens against and I said it before, Sunday's going to be a very interesting game. It's going to tell us a lot about what happens in the future. Dallas wants to win that game. They don't want to.
Yeah,
they
they
don't
do.
want to lose to the Giants. They're going to be playing hard, right?
Yep.
Giants are going to want to win that game. We're going to put our best effort on the field because we want to beat Dallas in our house to end the season. We need to end the season on a high note, right? The decision becomes a lot more difficult if Kafka can let them play their style of ball, if they can go in there and get a convincing win against a good Dallas team that is playing its players and is trying to win. I think that goes a long way in terms of the Maras and the Tish's understanding that there is something there. There is something that can be bought into, because you start looking at the other options. You start looking at who else is out there. It's very difficult to establish a culture from scratch, right? Bring in a whole new coaching system under a GM that they're not familiar with. Bring in somebody entirely new, an entirely new coaching staff, an entirely new way of thinking about things, new systems, new programs, new this, new that, new everything. That's a lot. That's a lot of organizational upheaval, and that in and of itself is going to cost you some wins at the beginning of a season, right? So I think there is some reason to give Kafka at the very least a look, right, when it comes to that, especially if since we saw what we saw in Las Vegas, and if we see the same thing against Dallas coming up next week, I think some credence has to be lent to the idea that maybe he is starting to establish a culture that's going to get these guys to win, get these guys to play up to their capability and maybe even beyond.
Well, guys, we have been an hour strong tonight. We are getting into the final week of the season against the Dallas Cowboys at MetLife Stadium. We'll see how they go. I'm going to go with my number. Look, nothing on the line but pride and the rivalry. I'm going to pick the Giants. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go 24-20 Giants.
I think you're selling both of these teams short.
Especially after the first game when we had an overtime.
Well, listen, the Cowboys, first of all, the Cowboys offense is fucking
really
phenomenal.
Good. Yeah, it's really good.
They average 400 yards a game. They score 30 points a game, but their defense is about the same. They give up about 400 yards a game, and they give up 30 points a game. This game is going to be a high-scoring affair, just like the first one.
Fine.
I think this is going to be a shootout. Yeah. I'm going to go with that score. I'm going to go 34-31 Giants. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, first of all, I think this Giants team is not a terrible team. And when I say that, I'm going away from what I know is true, which means they are terrible because their record says they're terrible. But I just think that the coaching staff, and that's the reason why people got fired this year, they didn't get the most out of this roster.
Yep.
I think this roster is talented.
Yep.
I think Dexter Lawrence cannot be blocked. I think Brian Burns cannot be blocked. That's two guys. Then you got Abdul Carter, who's been playing his best football the last 3 to 4 weeks after the second benching that he had.
Yep.
I'm telling you right now, this is a team, the Giants, that can do Commanders. They sacked Dak 6 times last week, right? But conversely, you look at their offense, the Cowboys. You know how many plays they ran last week? 87. They ran 87 plays last week, had almost 500 yards and 200 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the Giants will have their handful, but if they play, I'm telling you, if they play motivated football, if they play football and they get the best from Dexter, best from Abdul, best from Brian Burns, they will cause havoc with this. I think this Cowboys offense is like extremely talented, probably the best in the league, if not top 3, top 4. This team with the 2 wide receivers, with the ability and the willingness to run the football, and Dak playing good football like he's done all year. Dak's played good football all year. This offense is good. I think the Giants have the answer to that. I think they do when they play motivated. I'm going to whoop the person in front of me football. No one can whoop a interior lineman more than Dexter. And we've been seeing him do that the last 3 weeks. I think I'm telling you, he didn't like what was going on before when Shane Bowen and Dayball was there. And now we're seeing Dexter play Dexter football. We've seen they might have a better game defensively against this team than they have throughout the whole year, because a lot of guys, when you have a season like they're having, head coach fired, defensive coordinator fired, defensive line coach fired. No one knows their future in the NFL. So selfishly, you're going to say, I need to play my best game for me.
Yeah.
And that will ultimately help the result and help your team. I think you're going to see some good performances in Week 18 in the most meaningless game of the year for the Giants. And that's the thing, guys. When you play in the NFL, every game means everything to you, because it's not about the team when it comes to this point. It's about your future in the NFL. So you want to play good, smart, mental error-free football, and that will help your team if you play that type of football. So I'm expecting a better game from the Giants that we've seen, especially Week 2 against the Cowboys and all of their losses. It will go down to the wire. I think the Giants will win, but I can go either way with this. 34-31. I think it's going to be another high-scoring affair. But if the Giants can get Dallas to take the ball away from Dallas, I think the advantage goes to the Giants.
Yeah. You oftentimes play your best when you've got nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
You know, your back's against the wall. You got nothing to lose. Your tomorrow is not guaranteed for anybody, right? In fact, tomorrow's not going to happen for anybody. It's the last game of the season.
That's it.
So,
it's the last one.
At the end of the day, it's going to be balls to the wall, everybody. I think you're right. I think we do have the ability to bottle up Javon Walker. We bottled up Ashton Janty, right? I think he's the guy that scares me the most out of all of this, even though Dak is pretty scary and Pickens is a little scary, and some of the other guys that they've got, they can definitely play ball. So I do think it is going to be a high-scoring affair. I don't know that it's going to be that high-scoring. I think it'll be 31-28. I think the Giants are going to pull this one out because they do have some momentum, and I think the guys are finally playing the type of football that they know they're capable of. We didn't just beat the Raiders, guys. We laid it on them, right? We won that game 34-10. We laid it on the Raiders. We didn't just squeak out with a win, right? We fucking laid it down. So I think if we have the ability to do that against the Cowboys, I think we will come out with a win. I think it will be good to go into the offseason with some momentum. I think that does improve Kafka's chances of being the head coach, staying with the head coach, staying as the head coach, maybe even Bullen staying as the defensive coordinator, depending on what the defense is able to do. If they're able to bottle up Dak Prescott in a really good offense like that, and bring players up to their potential, it says a lot about what the coaching staff has been able to do in 4 weeks since Dable got fired. So. Yep. There will be a lot riding on this game, and I'm looking forward to it.
Guys, don't forget to check us out on social media. Ryan, the producer, has done a very good job on TikTok, and we're out of time. We went over. We went over.
We were out of time like half an hour ago.
45 minutes ago. So, guys, check us out on all of our social and podcast platforms. Big Blue Report, and we'll be back next week. Special thanks to Chris Vignani for coming on from the Giants Insider. Really appreciate it. For Ryan Darlington, the professor, the two-time Super Bowl champion, former Giants defensive captain Jonathan Casillas. I'm Randy Zelli from Back Sports Page. Ryan Stern, the producer. We'll see you next week on the Big Blue Report, powered by BackSportsPage.com.